It's 2 a.m., and you're replaying the conversation again. Not because you want to, you just can't stop. You keep rewinding it, editing what you said, casting yourself in a better version where you had the perfect line ready at exactly the right moment. And the worst part? You already know it isn't helping. You know this, and the loop keeps running anyway. If you're lying there nodding, stay with me, because maybe for you it isn't a conversation. Maybe it's a decision you made 6 months ago. Maybe it's a one-word text someone sent you 4 hours ago that you're still decoding. Or maybe you're not the one who does this at all. Maybe you live with someone whose mind clearly never powers down, and you've never understood what it's actually like in there. Either way, here's what nobody tells you. The problem is not that your brain is broken. The problem is that your brain is doing exactly what it was built to do, and it's doing it far too well. This is Mind with Me, and this might be the video your overthinking brain has been waiting for. Stay with me, because there's a twist most people never hear. Overthinking isn't one thing. It's 4 completely different loops, each with its own trigger, its own fuel, and its own way out. And knowing which one is running in your head right now changes everything. So let's start with the advice you've been handed your whole life. Just let it go. Stop stressing. Think positive. As if your brain didn't already know that would be nicer. As if you sat down one day and chose this. You've probably spent years being called too sensitive, too anxious, too much in your own head watching other people brush off a bad day, not dissecting every interaction, not lying awake, cataloging everything that could possibly go wrong next Thursday. And somewhere along the line, you decided that gap between you and them meant something was wrong with you. But that story has a fatal flaw. It mistakes the symptom for the source. Your overthinking is not a crack that leaked in through your personality. It's a strategy your mind adopted because, at some point, thinking harder was the only kind of safety available to you. The exhaustion isn't weakness. It's what happens when a genuinely powerful engine has been stuck in the wrong gear for years. What you're living has a name. It sits under what cognitive psychologists call repetitive negative thinking. Something researcher Edward Watkins at the University of Exeter has spent decades mapping. His work draws one line that matters more than any other. The line between thinking that actually processes an experience and thinking that just recycles it. The recycling kind, the kind that feels productive but leaves you more drained than when you started, that's the one we're dealing with. And the reason it's so hard to quit isn't a lack of willpower. It's that your brain has quietly decided that simulating a threat is the same thing as managing it. Thinking about the danger feels like doing something about the danger. It's a smoke alarm that goes off every time you light a candle. The alarm isn't broken, it's just badly miscalibrated. Now, here's where it gets specific. Because treating all 4 loops as one is like using a single key for 4 different locks. Let me walk you through them. See which one is yours. Loop 1 is worry, and it lives entirely in the future. Worry is the land of what if. What if I say the wrong thing in the meeting? What if this relationship quietly falls apart? What if I make the wrong call and can't take it back? Here's the strange thing about it. When researchers had chronic worriers write down their worries and then tracked what actually happened, the vast majority, around 90%, never came true. But your body can't tell the difference. It floods you with the same stress chemistry for the imaginary disaster as it would for a real one. So worry feels like preparation. It's actually just rehearsal for suffering you'll probably never live through, performed nightly for free in your spare time. Loop 2 is overanalyzing, and it's the sneakiest of the 4. It's not one big fear. It's a constant, low-grade scanning of everything. Reading 3 paragraphs of subtext into a one-word reply. Replaying someone's exact tone to decode what they really meant. Running live probability calculations on a group chat. Overanalyzing is your brain trying to delete uncertainty by gathering more data, and it never works, because uncertainty was never going to be solved by thinking. It can only be tolerated. The harder you analyze for certainty, the more uncertain everything starts to feel. It's like trying to see your reflection in water by leaning closer and closer until your own breath ripples the surface and the picture's gone. Loop 3 is rumination. And if worry is future tense, this one is past tense. This is the replay function, the 2 a.m. conversation from the start of this video. The decision you're still autopsying half a year later. The one thing you said wrong that you've now reshot in your head about 400 times, like a director who can't stop recutting a scene that already wrapped. And rumination is dangerous precisely because it disguises itself as self-reflection, which is catnip for thoughtful people. It feels like you're working something out, but real reflection moves toward a resolution. Rumination just moves in circles. It's the difference between a doctor examining a wound to treat it and someone pressing on a bruise over and over just to confirm it still hurts. Loop 4 is intrusive thoughts, and this is the one that carries the most shame, the one almost nobody says out loud. These are the unwanted, often disturbing images or ideas that show up uninvited. The sudden flash of something terrible happening to someone you love. The irrational fear that you might lose control and do or say something catastrophic. People stay silent about these because they believe that having the thought says something dark about who they are. It does not. Stanley Rockman, who studied this for years at the University of British Columbia, found that intrusive thoughts are a near universal human experience. Almost everyone has them. The only difference between the person who shrugs one off and the person who gets trapped for a week is not the thought itself. It's the meaning they attach to it. The thought is a spark. The meaning you make of it is the fire. So, what does it actually cost you to keep living inside these loops without understanding them? It's not just the lost sleep and the drained battery. Though, those are real. The deeper cost is that your relationship with your own mind slowly turns adversarial. You stop trusting your own thoughts. You start to believe the most honest thing you can say about yourself is that you can't control what happens in your own head. And that belief, left alone, quietly reshapes everything. How much you risk, how much you say, how much room you let yourself take up in your own life. So let me ask you honestly, how many times has a loop that started as caution ended with you doing less than you were actually capable of? Here's how you start to interrupt it. And none of this requires clearing your mind or becoming a calmer person overnight. The first move is to name the loop before you try to fix it. Out loud if you can, even in a whisper. This is worry. This is rumination. That sounds almost too small to count. It isn't. Neuroscientist Matthew Lieberman at UCLA found that putting a feeling into precise words actually lowers activity in the amygdala, your brain's alarm center, and lights up the prefrontal cortex, where the calm, reasoning part of you lives. Naming the loop doesn't just describe what's happening. It physically changes it. The second move is to match the loop to its exit, because each one has a different door. For worry, you schedule it, give it one 15-minute window a day. Write the worry down outside that window and close the notebook. You're not suppressing it, you're relocating it. For overanalyzing, you set a decision window, a fixed amount of time to assess, and then you act on the best information you've got, and you treat the discomfort of not being certain as data, not danger. For rumination, you ask the one question it can never answer. What action, even a tiny one, does this memory actually point me toward? If there's no answer, the loop has no job, and you're allowed to set it down. For intrusive thoughts, you do the hardest and simplest thing. You let the thought pass through without arguing with it, the way you'd watch a stranger cross the street. You don't chase them, you just let them go where they were going anyway. The third move is the one most people skip because it feels too basic. You bring your body into it. These loops aren't only in your head, they're physical. Long, slow exhales, where the out-breath is longer than the in-breath. Switch on the part of your nervous system that powers everything down. You're not meditating, you're just lowering the temperature of the room the loop is running in. A calm nervous system literally can't hold a catastrophe at full volume. And if you're not the overthinker, if you're here because you love one, this is the most useful thing you'll hear today. When their mind is spinning, don't try to argue them out of it with logic. You can't out-reason a miscalibrated alarm. Just be the calm in the room. Your steady nervous system is contagious in the best possible way. Here's the reframe I want you to sit with. The same brain that traps you in these loops, the one that notices everything, that processes everything to the bottom, that can't let a thing go until it finally makes sense, that brain is not an enemy in disguise. It's an extraordinarily sensitive instrument, tuned to catch threats in a world that no longer asks that much vigilance of you. The alarm was installed for a real reason. The work isn't to tear it out, it's to recalibrate it. Because that exact same depth, that refusal to accept the surface answer, is what makes you someone who sees what everyone else walks right past. The mind that overthinks is the same mind that notices what others miss. You weren't cursed with too much brain. You were handed something powerful without an instruction manual. Consider this, the manual. So drop a comment and tell me which of the four shows up most in your head: worry, overanalyzing, rumination, or intrusive thoughts. I'm genuinely curious, and honestly, someone else scrolling the comments is going to read yours and finally feel less alone in it. And if a specific person came to mind while you watch this, the one whose brain never seems to switch off, send this to them. Sometimes the kindest thing you can give an overthinker is just proof that someone understands the room they live in.